gents, please give a big round of applause to the strategy and development, the gentleman from strategy and development at Blockchain Reactor, Rick Nasser. Thank you.
We on? Can you hear me? Perfect. So thanks for having me, guys. It was short notice. I've been told to come on board, the moderator, just 2 days ago. So what we're going to do is we're going to invite the guests on stage, please. We have Jordan and Alejandro, and now please jump us. I'm gonna keep it more like simple and dumb it down a bit because it was quite highly technical earlier with hashgraph. They were great at explaining everything we had. So yeah, do you wanna come closer? Oh yeah, you go first.
Get cozy here.
There we go. Brilliant. So you probably know most of them by now. So but I'd love, and again, a quick intro if you don't mind. You can start.
Okay.
You, Alejandro.
Hello. Alejandro de la Torre, VP Business Operations at BTC.com.
Jordan Freed, you already know who I am, so I'm going to keep this short, but I am here because of the first big crypto project in Ireland, Mingo. Everyone should go stop by the Mingo booth here. So I didn't have enough time to get that in there, but I am so happy to be here. I would not be here without Mingo. They're doing incredible stuff. So thanks, Mingo, for bringing me here.
Hi, my name is Kanawi Zinko. I'm the founder for Uniquely Wired. It's basically a recruitment company for tech startups, and we also do marketing. We're basically passionate about the fact that just celebrating individuality and diversity, so that translates from recruitment perspectives, but then we work with a lot of tech startups and ICOs to help get clarity in their proposition and how we take that to market.
Brilliant. Before we start, just quickly there might be a Q&A after this, so if you have some time. So if you have some questions, get them ready, just in case we do that. Alejandro, actually I'm going to start, before we just say that, you just stole my question. I was going to ask everyone on the audience who has crypto here. So you already answered that, so I kind of looked around and I saw how many there are. But Alejandro, I'd love to get your thoughts on the crypto at the moment is in a slum in a way, it's from last year. And I'm just curious, is this going to be the end of the crypto coin exchanges, or this is still coming back? Or
The exchanges or the coins themselves?
Well, the exchanges themselves.
Everything's gonna, we're all gonna die. It's all gonna, forget it. Turn it off. No, it's okay. I mean, last year was crazy in terms of price action. And I think it's normal that the price stabilizes a bit. It's good for the industry to sort of start, we should focus on building, not so much on price and speculation.
Do you think the hype because there was a massive hype last year, especially with the whole ICOs, which we'll touch on later, and do you think that will kind of, it's starting to level out?
Yeah, so ICOs had a crazy year, 2017, and a lot of them were not, let's say, very good. Too much money was raised, not someone, promising everything under the sun. I think the industry is already starting to police itself. Now you can't raise 150 million in 10 minutes like it was early 2017. It's much, much harder now. I think it's good for us as an industry to like sort of calm down. It's not a good look for us as, for serious companies like us here, to have these, these crazy ICOs with nothing in them.
Yeah.
That's true, yeah. Do you have anything to say about it?
Yeah, I think that there's many bubbles. I think we were in one, it corrected. We're definitely not in a bubble right now. I think that we've not yet really seen mainstream value come onto these networks. I predict a Bitcoin, even after the comments you just heard me make, I still think you'll see a Bitcoin, for better or for worse, it gets above $20,000 US again. I think that's going to happen relatively soon.
You think it's going to go up again?
Yeah, absolutely. There's a lot of pent up capital that's not being deployed right now.
Yeah.
So, I'm seeing it, really amazing projects are seeing it. Let's remind ourselves, what really got disrupted is venture capitalism. You don't need to do equity, you didn't need to do equity fundraising once an ERC20 token came around. You could do this smart contract, not give up board seats, not have to sell your soul to a bunch of angel investors and VCs. That stinks. I tried to do that before, no one would give me $1, right? I had to bootstrap my last company. So, doing that now, that's incredible. You can start companies like Mingo here in Ireland and do incredible stuff with an ICO. And they're building a real product, a message aggregator. It works. I've seen it. It's amazing. So I think that it's venture capitalism. I think we're only in the beginning. It's really early right now.
The crypto or the ecosystem, or definitely the coin exchange ecosystem in the world now, is purely on trading the coins. On that's where the hype is. Would it how is it trickling into the real life situation? I always ask this question. I mean, would the crypto concept replace the traditional trading, cash, let's call it, or credit cards, or credit cards maybe not, but cash itself? Would that replace it, or will it complement it?
I think, in a sense, it will, we live in such a diverse world in the sense that crypto will become a more mainstream type of currency. And it's one of the things that you mentioned, Jordan. It's going to be, the purpose of it is really for an alternative currency. I guess over time, as the different industries develop their own currencies, then people will get more comfortable with it. So I think it's definitely here to stay. I don't think it's necessarily going to fully replace standard currency as of yet in the short term, but it's going to be one of the things where people are going to get more comfortable with it. It's going to get utilized more. And as the industry changes, it becomes more robust, and the good currency, cryptocurrency, stands out from the rest of the other ones who aren't as robustly built. And that's where we'll see the next takeoff of cryptocurrency.
Oh, yeah?
Cryptocurrency is a currency, cryptographic currency. But it's meant to be a currency, right? But we still face way a lot of challenges before we hit the mainstream. That's a lot of people. First of all, we need to fix scalability, what he was talking about. That's something that we're still, ongoing. It's an ongoing debate, ongoing development. We still need to work hard on merchant adoption. There has to be more companies in the space that are willing to help merchants on board and accept crypto. Ultimately, I think as our friends here said, we're still early on. We still have faced too many challenges, or not too many, but some pretty big challenges, and we need to get over those things before we hit anywhere near the mainstream.
Yeah, I want to jump on this real quick. I think that when you look at, yes, in 5 years, you're going to see a sovereign state with a standing army issuing a currency on a ledger. It's going to happen. I'm not saying it's going to be a public network. I'm not saying it's going to be on Hedera or on Ethereum or on any other network. I think you will see it. It will give unprecedented transparency. It's going to come from a country like Ireland. It's going to come from a country where they're more agile, smaller population, they're willing to make a bold move like that. It won't be their entire issuance. Yes, I like to think of this through the lens of, it's funny, but through my son, he's 18 months old. When I look at the world through his eyes, he will laugh at me and say, Dad, you really used to take $1 to the corner store and get pennies, nickels, and dimes as change? That's funny. That's inefficient. I hate when our pockets jingle. Who likes change, right? We're seeing the softwareization, if that's a word, of money. That's what we're seeing. That's cryptographic money, as Alejandro said. So this is the way the world's going. I think that's what we have in the future.
Well, we're already starting to see this happen in Venezuela. We have the Petro going on, which is created by the government. It's supposed to be backed by oil. There's a lot of problems there. There's a lot of secrecy and whatnot. But it is the first time a government has issued and is basically doing an ICO of a cryptocurrency.
Actually, good question. Who knows what ICO is? Just put your hands up.
Oh, yeah.
Quick definition if you guys do it, because you do it better than I would.
So, everyone knows the term IPO, initial public offering. Well, we just went ahead and copied it and said initial coin offering. That's it.
Pretty much, yeah. Just quickly on that note, I have a 7-year-old. He actually started explaining to his grandmother what Bitcoin is, and that kind of caught me by surprise. I was surprised, yeah, because I went through the whole YouTube explanation. I was like, you know what, I can't explain to you. Here, watch some YouTube. They love it, so they're on it. So, but yeah, no. The word blockchain, you kind of demolished that phrase earlier in your talk, Jordan. I had actually a friend of mine who was actually asked me to ask this question. He's a developer himself in a software manufacturing company, and he was saying like, he believes now that blockchain or the ecosystem or the technology cannot survive without the crypto. I kind of wanted to challenge him. I said, you know what? I'll just pass it on to you guys and see what you think about that.
It's I agree there. So blockchain technology, like I was saying in my talk, you need to for a block like a currency. So to create the technology and be efficient and secure, you need to incentivize people to actually run and create the blockchain. How do you incentivize people? Through a cryptocurrency. That's why Bitcoin has taken off and it's still viable and working today. There's a lot of people making a lot of money right now on it. It's because it's incentivized to store and maintain a decentralized blockchain through a reward of cryptocurrency. Without that, you have just a MySQL database. No offense to anyone who thinks that's cool, but that's it, right? You can set some, you don't even need blocks in this case. You just have a chain of transactions, digital ledger technology. What is that? That's a ledger that's shared by people. It's called MySQL database, right? That's what it is. You can call it ledger if you like, but that's what it is.
Yeah, technology is a loaded word. There's a lot of things. Like, are we still going to be using GPUs or ASIC processors? We use a GPU in the Hashgraph model. Anyone with a GPU at home can do digital signature verification on it. I'm not aware of anyone else doing that, but it's important to have digital signatures, verified transactions. So we still use that hardware. Blockchain is literally a chain of blocks. It's a data structure. It's longest chain principle. Completely agree with Alejandro. I think instead of calling it blockchain, IBM is calling it blockchain as a service. It's really databases. It's a replicated database. We're talking about replicating databases across distributed architecture, replicating information in Singapore to Ireland and doing it, at the speed of light. That's incredible. Doing stuff like that's going to bring on the advent of fairness of information. You wouldn't need a VPN. My entire previous business would be obsolete if we just had fair sharing or replication of information globally. So I think the technology is still there at its core. Fundamentally, we're talking about the decentralized distributed web, but it's probably not in a blockchain data structure. It's not solving these complex mathematical puzzles to win the right to add a block to a chain long term. Maybe that becomes a store value. I don't know the future of it. I think it's going to be a different data structure, more like a directed acyclic graph that can scale faster.
Mm-hmm. Cool. I'm gonna just pass a question to you there, Kanawi. We have, you get a lot of clients who are businesses that want to go into an ICO campaign, that want to raise money for their project. And people don't, we spoke about this earlier, people don't realize, rephrase, many people don't realize that these ICOs are essentially, most of the time, startups. And I'd love to ask you about how do you vet them? I'm sure you get so many asking you to go and become your clients, but how do you vet them to get the right ones from what we call quote-unquote scammers,
Yeah, sure. Very good question, because really at the end of the day, and the current, bad press that ICOs and the crypto world has gotten is because of the fact that more recently, in the last kind of 18 months, a lot of companies that did raise an ICO are coming out of that, and they were supposed to deliver on what is typically the roadmap. So what is the timelines for their delivery? And a lot of them have kind of fallen short in that. So it's created the situation in the market where they're getting a lot of bad press. So therefore, it's becoming more increasing in the cryptocurrency space and ICO space that you do, as you say, vet and make sure, both from a partnership point of view in terms of which clients you want to service, but I suppose likewise for every individual here who wants to invest in ICOs, you do have to evaluate and try and decipher which is going to be the good and the bad. And I suppose, as Alexander mentioned, it's kind of like an IPO. You study the company and the core foundations of it in the same way. So you look at things like what's their product, what's their proposition, what solution is it trying to solve in the market, Is it something that they have a lot of other competitors? Do they have something distinctive that is going to help them stand out from the rest of other ICOs in the market? You want to look at their team. So do they have a strong, robust team? Who are those individuals? Do they have good operational experience, not just brands, but good operational solid experience? You want to look at the roadmap as well, which is basically where they have planned what is their delivery timeframes, what are their milestones, are those milestones realistic, for example?
Most of the time these roadmaps are so ambitious, I must say that.
Absolutely, yeah. So I guess you really wanted to evaluate each ICO to make sure that they've got the core foundations. Are they thinking about the problem as well? Do they have good solutions to those problems? Do they have a strong vision? Is their team together? So just those foundations.
So it's practically as if the venture capitalists, or if you want to go back in the traditional way, if you just copy the model of how they vet their potential startups, they want to invest in, and they just take that on board and just take whatever, at least the basics.
But I want to add something to that. I think ICOs is disrupting VC, and it's a viable way of crowdfunding. However, I think the incentives are incorrect with ICOs. If you go ahead and raise $10 million or whatever it is, and then you need to build a product, I don't know. I'm sorry, but the incentives are incorrect, and that's what's going on with this. So, like, you're gonna raise 10 million, and you're gonna spend 3 million to build this product that you might want to then raise to then, make $3 million with, right? So
that's funny because they try to build a product, they raise to 10, 20, 30 million, and then to make something that will make them 2 or 3 million. So it's good to bet, and it's extremely important to bet ICOs and all that good stuff. I agree with you guys there, but we need to. We're still figuring that out. It's a decentralized crowdfunding approach, but just remember that the incentives are not aligned. So be very careful.
This is a huge point. No one in this room should be thinking about doing an ICO unless they have real tech, unless they're planning on writing real code. It's like step one. You can't publish a white paper. Well, you can because others have done it, but it's disingenuous. You should not publish a white paper of a theoretical concept or an idea, raise $1 billion, and try to build a product afterwards. That's not responsible.
Do you think that we need the governance on this side of the whole crypto environment or space?
Well, to protect consumers, absolutely. There's consumers out there that are speculating like wildfire.
But not regulations, I'm saying governance. Or do we need governance?
Processes and systems in place, in essence.
Okay.
Checks and balances. I think like any industry, it's going to mature. So I guess what's happened in the industry is it's come out. A lot of companies have gone and done an ICO, which has raised a lot of capital. The good and encouraging thing in that is open at the market. It's in essence allowed fluidity, liquidity, gotten people excited, which has created a whole new industry sector. The challenge with that, it's like anything, it's grown quite quickly, it's peaked, and now it needs to mature, like any industry, whether that's banking, airlines, legal, whatever it is. And now it's going through that whole process of getting mature. So that means putting systems in place, best practices, and that's where I encourage a lot of people to kind of get involved in the room, because everybody's got a different sort of experience and skills and history to be able to bring to the table. So I think the more people we actually get involved from different walks of different sectors in ICOs and blockchain, it will actually improve the whole industry as a whole. We can put the checks and balances in place to make sure that the industry remains but progresses on and becomes more robust.
Completely agree with that. Speculation is driving innovation right now. As much as there's a lot of money there and a lot of brilliant engineers are leaving traditional jobs and going to do distributed ledger projects. And that's incredible. So I think that's going to bring interest here, but it needs to be responsible speculation. You need to protect consumers at the end of the day. There's people that are rushing into this thinking they're going to 10x or 20x. There's predatory projects in the space like BigConnect that give us all a bad name.
Well, we were warning people from day one not to get into BigConnect.
Absolutely.
Just quick hand, just touched my mic there. Raise of hands. Anyone dabbled with buying ICO tokens, if you know what that means? Jesus, that's actually better than I thought.
Okay, so smart
Interesting,
investors.
good job. Fair play to you guys. So, now going back on the whole evolution of the whole ecosystem. So you guys have Hashgraph and the mining going on. Like, is this where the future? Like, what would maybe the future of blockchain or the space of the whole thing? What do you think will, or what industries, maybe that's a better word, what industries would definitely change in the next 5 years that will see the difference using this space or technology?
Good question. So since I'm focused on the cryptocurrency aspect of blockchain, which is I think is the killer app of blockchain technology, I think financial institutions and possibly even nation states will have to rethink a lot of things because the power might, shift or not shift, but kind of balance itself. It's going to be an alternative system, so we might see some new ways of, financial institutions and nation states. Let's see.
Yeah, it's micropayments and it's IoT. I mean, everyone's on the sideline thinking in blockchain like this box that does 12 transactions per second. You can't build much at 12 TPS. I mean, Uber does 12 rides per second. You can make that argument, but there's reasons why people aren't thinking in a high throughput mindset. So things like self-driving cars, any sort of Internet of Things where you have micro devices, Raspberry Pis and switches and light bulbs, and all of these sort of switches connected to distributed networks. All that stuff is going to become possible now. Personally, we joined the Trusted IoT Alliance to work on that. I'm really excited. That is with Bosch and Cisco and some of the biggest companies in the world. And they're working on some really exciting things there. So I think IoT is killer. Micropayments, everyone familiar with Wikipedia? So anyone that uses Wikipedia here knows that every 6 months, Jimmy Wales asks us for $2 to $6. But Wikipedia has 100 million plus page views a month. Right? They are one of the largest, one of the most viewed websites on the planet, and Jimmy Wales has to hit us up. If he was starting today, he'd just do an ICO. Okay? I'm fairly certain. If anyone knows Jimmy, I'm sure he'd be doing an ICO right now, Wikipedia coin. But he's not, so what do? You're probably going to have a browser. We should pitch this to the Mail Online guys. You have a native wallet in your browser where you're making micropayments. This wasn't before possible with a $20 transaction fee, but you're making a native micropayment to view that page. And if it costs you a millionth of a penny, do we care? No, but that's $1 million a month for Wikipedia, and that's going to help pay for the staff and the admins and the devs and DevOps and all that stuff. So we're really talking about game-changing use cases. We have to think outside the box. Every day I'm hearing a new use case. I didn't really know what Mingo was until very recently. Mingo's a message aggregator. You connect your Facebook, your Twitter, your Instagram, your Skype, everything to it, and all your messages go into one place. You don't have to open an app. That's on a distributed network. That's really cool. Yeah. That's really, really, really cool. Distributed messaging. You could make that encrypted. I think we're just starting to see this new wave of dApps on platforms, and there's going to be a lot of exciting use cases.
Now, what about some of the clients you have? Like anything exciting you would like to share?
Some of them are under NDA, but there is...
generic. Give us a very generic ballpark here.
Yeah, I think the exciting thing, I suppose, is through kind of working more in this ICO space, is I've seen a cross-section, everything from art to telecommunications, and it's actually hitting a whole range of all sectors. And I think this is the exciting thing about this whole space, in essence, because it has an opportunity to change and create new innovation. So, for example, in the last 5 years to a decade, we've seen basically the interrelatedness of basically one provider like the seller and then the consumer, and then you had Amazon who became the distributor, and that fundamentally changed something. Same thing with Airbnb and same thing with Uber, and now in essence this is the wave that's coming across with cryptocurrencies and ICOs, where we're able to use blockchain technology to fundamentally change how things are made more transparent, more democratized, so that everybody can access it, so that it's not just exclusive investment for the high-end players or anything like that. It's actually for all, built by all.
Perfect, thanks. We have like a minute and a half, so I'd love to finish it off with with a statement, and I'd love quick comments, literally 30 seconds each if you can. The amazing thing about the blockchain, or the whole space of blockchain or ecosystem, is very non-judgmental. Would you like to expand on that?
Sure. So again, the exciting thing about blockchain is that it's so new. So you don't need the history. You don't need years of experience. So the great thing about it is each and everybody in this room, for example, regardless of gender, so that's for you all women there, regardless of age and regardless of demographics, you all have a level of experience in a particular sector or sectors. So it means you can apply that learning, that skill set that you have, and actually apply that to a blockchain project or an ICO project. And the more people we actually get involved, the more skill level will actually increase, and that's where we get better best practice. That's where we almost want to move towards self-regulation, because then we actually are able to contribute that much more, and we actually raise the game. So that's what.
Perfect.
Yeah, quickly, the world's been centralized, non-judgmental, more free, fair, open world. We're looking at the future, the advent of the peer-to-peer internet. We went from data centers to the cloud. No one ever thought we'd make that jump. Banks moving 85% or more of their infrastructure from data centers to the cloud. We're now moving from the cloud to the distributed cloud. It lives on the backs of all of your computers at home, and you now have an economic incentive to make money and replace what AWS does. This is going to change everything. Personal consensus servers in our homes. This is a free, fair, and open peer-to-peer world. That's a vision that I get out of bed every day to go work and try to achieve. So I'm excited about that.
So to finish it off, it's up to you guys to build. It's up to us to build this. So if you have an idea, build it. The technology is there. Go ahead, build. We need this. Thank you.
Brilliant. Before we finish off...
Quick question for
yes?
Ray.
Okay.
Did you ever go for a job with Casey Neistat?
Tomorrow, if I can. I have a very tiny YouTube channel, so he's making fun of me on that one, so it's fine.
Your video went viral. A lot of people saw your video about trying to get Casey to go for a run with you.
Oh God,
Congrats on that.
don't go there, man. Don't go there.
No, man, it was awesome. Everyone go watch that video.
I overslept, by the way. we didn't do it. He apologized. He actually said no, thanks. He's
It was
had
an
to fly
amazing
me
video.
tomorrow.
Really good job. That was awesome.
Thanks for that.
Yeah,
Thanks.
good hustle.
Yeah. Sorry guys, thank you so much for do catch them after after this talk if you need to have any questions, because we are out of time. Hand of applause for our